Yeah, Reckless has been sort of 2v4 in a lot of these situations in the bottom lane. It's definitely felt like he's been the weak side, which is not uncommon for Reckless, but feels like it's difficult for him to play the late game. It's going to be a Xin Zhao locked in here for Ski.
I love this idea here because you've got Leona who can deal with Zeri quite well. You've got the Xin Zhao as well who can match the early aggression from the Jarvan, and also then having that ultimate as well to kind of keep Reckless at bay in the later portion of the game. So at least you've got now tools on Vitality.Bee to keep playing through this early game. And it was something that myself, Ox, the desk all talked about was how important this early game was going to be for Vitality.Bee in getting those leads, and we're seeing them go towards that once more.
There's going to be a Rakan locked in here for Hantera. So, you know, I like this. K-Corp are locking in proactivity here. The Braum isn't going to be there this time around. So 1-1-3 will have a little bit of backup because on that Jarvan last game, it felt like every time he went in, he just got one shot.
Yeah, interesting enough, though, every time this series and that last series, K-Corp have taken jungle, AD, and mid in their first three, so diverging a bit to make sure that they have a good support match, because, I mean, typically what we saw from Vitality.Bee was they would ban away the Nautilus in particular and securing themselves a good pick, so it feels like they're investing a lot to try and secure this bot lane.
I am a little bit worried, though, with the way that these bans are going, if Seiken actually ends up falling back towards the Twisted Fate.
Are there any mid laners left?
Yeah, well, I think that they, at least with the Sylas ban, I would have expected a Galio ban, you take the Twisted Fate, but it does feel if you take the TF, like, you've got Xayah, who's got decent self-peel. You've got the ultimate from Xin Zhao, which can make that pick hard. It feels like you're starting to have a lot of options here on the Vitality.Bee side for something like that Twisted Fate. So now we got to see what does Seiken want to bring to the table, or is he just going to fall back to old reliable?
That'd be the question. Obviously, the Twisted Fate being banned away by Vitality.Bee, and then the Camille as well, which has been a consistent
They ran out of mid laners to ban at this point even. There is still the Vex available, which is definitely something that we could see.
Could we see a Victor? Victor used to be a thing.
Yeah, you know, it can be played, but I feel like a big thing in the current meta has been these mids with agency, and it's something that particularly that we've wanted to see from Seiken, right? He's had the Azir, which was more of a neutralizer. I'm not super happy about him going to the Victor, but I think in this situation when so much has been banned, you don't have a huge amount of choice.
I mean, there's what, like 7 mid lane bans that have been levied towards him, so difficult position, goes to the Victor in the end.
Yeah, and I think this is where you can maybe actually see Diplex fall back towards him with the Vex, which actually is going to be locked in. I think now you've actually got the stronger 2v2 on Vitality.Bee side, and you've got the opportunity now to go towards, there it is, the Ornn as well. So really strong team fight set up for Vitality.Bee, and should be able to set themselves up nicely through that mid jungle and see if they can continue to put that pressure bot side.
And this is almost a frustrating thing because, you know, we've seen K-Corp ban Ornn so heavily to try and secure Cabochard, a good counter pick where he's not going to be going up against Ornn, who obviously is a decent weak side and can also scale exceptionally. And in this situation, they leave it open, and then they have the counter pick for Cabochard, and they go for a Sion. So not the most active mid, not really utilizing the counter pick, and it kind of seems like it's all the eggs in the Reckless basket. They have to have bot lane win, or I think it's going to be rough.
But that at least is a different tune from K-Corp. From what we've seen, it's been Reckless kind of weak-sided in that bottom lane. They've been playing up towards the top side. Now I feel like with this composition, surely you have to play towards that.
But that's the thing, right? Like, this isn't just a different tune for this series. This is a different tune for who Karmine Corp are as a team. They've been playing heavily towards Cabochard, utilizing the fact they've got him on this incredibly strong, like, either like Lucians, these big carries, but that's not what we're going to see anymore. Instead, now they are going to have to try and play towards bot side. Now, it could work out, but you're not really playing towards what has been the strengths of Karmine.
Oh, we'll have to see if they can change those strengths, if they can change their style. On the other side, though, Vitality.Bee, once again, feels like they have aggression, feels like they have ways to make things happen in the early game. And so far, it's been the case that if Vitality.Bee win the early game, they win the game. We're going to head into game number 3. We're going to head onto Summoner's Rift for what could be the final time if Vitality.Bee can keep this momentum going. They never got to play K-Corp in the LFL playoffs, and apparently that was to K-Corp's benefit because they are destroying them here in the semifinals.
Both teams just looking to spread out, not going to be too much action in the early stages. I mean, I think on both sides you would love to try and get some vision and spot out like where the enemy jungler is going to be, but it certainly feels like once again we're kind of going back to game number 1. Skeens having that priority in the jungle, seeing if he can make things happen. But I mean, honestly, it hasn't really mattered whether Skeens is on the good or the bad side of the matchup. He's been the one that's made the difference in these early stages.
But he is obviously Lee Sin, which is definitely something. And one thing I will say for the K-Corp composition, right, it is a Victor who is going to scale pretty well if they can keep him safe. It's also the Sion. You're into a Vex, Vex, who doesn't really have the best tank killing capability. You're also into a Xayah, who's going to be the Lethality. Again, not the best at killing tanks. When it gets to those later stages, I feel like K-Corp have a pretty solid team fight that should be fairly straightforward to play. As long as they have the execution, they don't fall too far behind.
And crucially, that's one of the sort of weaknesses we've talked about for Vitality.Bee is they're not very fast at finishing out these games. So if they do start to fall off in the later stages, and we almost inevitably will hit those later stages, perhaps that is the light that K-Corp need in this series.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of what Vitality.Bee are going to need to do is pretty much like off first reset here for Skeens, go straight for Dragons, right? Because you're going, hey, look, we've got mid push, we've got bot push. If we can try and stack these early, then we can start to draw Karmine Corp into these early fights before this game hits that late game point. Because, I mean, even when you look at how long every single one of these games have gone so far this series, this would favor Karmine Corp.
And that's something to say, right? They have the tools, and the objective control in that game too was just absolutely excellent for Vitality.Bee. And that was a time where we saw the comps and thought, no, K-Corp should have control. So I think very much that's the expectation, but we want to see it start happening in this game.
We'll have to see if they're going to be able to take control a little bit. There's a bit of an all-in the bottom side. It's a level 2 spike, so Pantera will take a bit of damage, but not too much to be taken as actually Reckless steps over the feathers, and suddenly the trade goes a little bit further in Vitality's favor.
I mean, it's not going to be the end of the world. You're still just going to get shoved in on bot side here. And again, you can kind of see both junglers opting in for a bit more of a full clear. So not looking for early ganks, at least at the moment.
And I got to say, something that's really bold is Reckless not having cleanse, right? He hasn't run cleanse this series, despite the fact all 3 games have been into Leona. But you're into a Leona, you're into a Xayah, you're into a Vex. Very easy to see CC just being layered so heavily onto you. So obviously trusting his hands, but does mean if something connects, you are going to get caught out.
I mean, you don't even have like any sort of help coming through from your team as well. Like if Diplex does end up in the back line, like it's going to be a fox and chicken coop. Like they're just going to have to scatter to the 4 winds because that damage that can come through from Skeens, from Diplex is going to be absolutely insane.
And they'll be looking to have Diplex be the fox in the chicken coop if they want to then go forward and be the bees in the fox coop.
Den?
Okay, in the final? Yeah, I don't know. I'm reaching with that one, but as Medic said, bit of a menagerie in our finals if Vitality can make it on through. And that would be crazy because remember, K-Cup, these are the back-to-back Amazon EU Masters champions. And now in the semi-final, looking like they're really struggling.
Yeah, the only org to ever win twice, and they've done it twice in a row. But now, if they lose this game, not even getting a chance to defend their title in the finals.
And when you look at Vitality.Bee as well, a team that, you know, hasn't been able to make it out of play-ins thus far. Now getting to the main event, now 1 game away from finals. It feels like we're seeing the rise and fall of 2 LFL giants, and Vitality.Bee hoping that they will be the ones that come out on top.
Hoping to become a giant, and, you know, LDLC on the other side of that conversation, it would be their second win if they're able to win the whole tournament for themselves. But we got a little bit of action coming our way. Now, we did see 1-1-3 walk over the Warden. It's just going to be an all-in on the bottom side from Jessica and Jack Troll, but perhaps Jessica could be in trouble. Has his flash, heals to keep Jack Troll safe. Oh, the root!
Oh, so good.
1-1-3 nearly finds it anyway, but Jack Troll flashes it out, and Vitality.Bee beautifully played.
Yeah, it's still positive in terms of the summoner's burn, but a lot committed there not to find anything. And now we see pings coming out. If you look at the mini-map, we can see Skeens moving up towards the top lane.
Skeens going to try and make his way in.
Oh, he's so low.
Yeah, Kabashard, he doesn't know this is going on. Oh, he's in all kinds of trouble. Flash going to be used. It's followed. It's knocked up. And it Skeens with first blood.
I mean, the wave was just in an awful position there for Kabashard, and you'd already shown your face on bot side as 1-1-3, so really nice job from Skeens, just poking his head into the top side and getting that first blood for himself. Lads.
Yeah. I thought you were going. I was like, am I going?
It's a Mexican standoff on the caster desk. Yeah, great little gank there from Skeens. And crucially, we've been looking at the differences between these 2 junglers throughout the series. And once again, we see Skeens winning out in the cross map, winning out in the early plays.
And I think this is something that, again, it's kind of been a struggle for Karmine Corp. Like 1-1-3 in theory tries to get the play off on bot side, and it could have been wonderful if it worked out, but that ward placed early by Vitality.Bee paying dividends where they spot 1-1-3 before the gank comes through, Jessica with the nice root, and it just feels like consistently whenever we see Karmine Corp trying to go for these plays, they're just falling behind.
Level 6, Shigenda with the Ornn combo, flashes forward, 1 more hit would do the trick. The Q dodged away from, and Shigenda is playing with his food, but here comes 1-1-3. And Cabochard, I think, will survive this one. Dodges away from the knockup. Actually turns damage around onto 113. My God, he's invincible. And in the meantime, Vitality, they basically win both sides of the map.
And you know what my takeaway from that was? How broken Corrupting Potion was. I swear, Cabochard was so low in HP, and then suddenly it's like, I don't think he has the damage to finish him off. 113 does turn up to cover, and I feel like this is kind of the thing, right? So much of this series has been 113 trying to put out fires or cover his lanes when they're in comfortable spots. And I feel like he hasn't been able to have as much agency as a result. He shows up top to stop a solo kill, but in return, Skeens gets a dragon.
And every time this seems to be the story, right? Like either Vitality.Bee are just solo making plays as 113 is running around with the water bucket, or it's actually just been them doing really good jobs of cross-mapping. We saw it in game number 1, really bring Vitality.Bee's gold lead to the forefront. Now we're seeing it again where you're getting a quick dragon coming through, which is exactly what we wanted from Vitality.Bee.
Oh, it's an engage onto Hantera. Does have his flash available. Dashes over towards Reckless. Ignite is there. Shadow Surge won't quite connect, and it means Reckless should be safe on this one. Both flashes available still, as they will walk away from this one.
Yeah, I guess you don't need the cleanse if you can just dodge it like that. Reckless doing a good job to dip away, and a lot of time invested for Diplex to make that move. Ultimately just means they can get some time to build up a bit of CS lead.
Yeah, and can just pop this in, get himself a nice reset if he wants to, or even look to try and make a play for himself on this bottom side, because you see 113 is here, but with the level 5 only there for 113, because he's been trying to put out fires, won't have that Cataclysm available to try and make something happen on this bot side.
And I feel like that play coming out from Diplex to try and move towards this bottom side is acknowledging the scaling difference between these two teams, right? Vitality.Bee know that they've got to be proactive in this early game if they want to have a chance at winning the late game fights.
Do you notice one thing is coming out from Cabochard's inventory? Looking like it is going to be the Hullbreaker. And we've actually seen on live, Sion has been nerfed heavily, as is Hullbreaker, because there's this new strat where you build it and just perma side lane and you have your zombie form kill the tower. I'm not sure they go to that extreme that we've seen in solo queue, but it's definitely frustrating as an Ornn playing into that and being unable to defend your tower.
Are you saying we're going to see Babushard?
Maybe.
Could that be the strategy? K-Corp backs against the blue wall and Babushard comes on through to save the day. We'll have to wait and see as 113 grabs himself this Herald. That'll certainly help with taking down towers.
Yeah, and at least there's something here for Karmine Corp as well, because my biggest worry was that Vitality.Bee were just going to run away with this game. But as you see, like there are opportunities here for Karmine Corp to still try and fight back. And I think if you start to give this gold down towards Reckless or even in towards Seiken, just feeding your carries the necessary gold, the late game will come a lot sooner, and Karmine Corp can push us to that crucial game 4.
And this is a beautiful opportunity here. 113 moves in with the Herald.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be able to get the tower low. They won't take it, but with how important mid tower is, just getting a low is such a massive objective to be able to take. But I'm going to have to back away from the defense, but just a nice trade from out from Seiken does lead to that.
Also makes it a lot more difficult for Diplex to try and look for these roams, right? Because if that tower is low, well, suddenly there's a much bigger cost for losing it, but Seiken just about able to flash away from that engage.
A good flash from Seiken. Jack Troll going to use the solar flare, but ultimately that's a price he's willing to play to trade for the mid laner's flash. Feels like Vitality.Bee still on the front foot, still slightly ahead in gold despite those 3 plays going down mid.
And we haven't really seen too much success come out from Skeens other than that initial gank. The game has kind of gone this slower pace. And I have to say, K-Corp can be pretty happy with that, right? Not falling nearly far as behind as you saw in the game 1, for example. We do have Dragon coming up in a minute 40. I feel like we've had Soul 2 games in a row from Vitality.Bee. Putting a slow down to that would have a ton of value.
Cabochard is gonna ult down the lane. Okay, we've got a Sion gamer on our hands. Just gonna chase him out of the lane. And you know what, lads? I already know this one's gonna get funky. This game is gonna get real funky.
Now it's gonna get funky this series.
I mean, this series has been pretty funky.
But here we go.
Huge route onto Hantera. That's gonna be Jack Troll following up as well. Has the grand entrance away from that one. And it will be Skeens a little too late to make the play.
That's heal burnt a minute before Dragon, though. Diplex taking a lot of hurt off of this mid laner. 113 needs to just be a bit careful here.
Seiken doing a really good job of just blasting his ult at Diplex every single time it's available, forcing him out of lane, but he's healthy enough to stay and just clear the way for now. And it means that when Drake is up in 45 seconds time, Diplex, I think, would have just about enough time to reset.
He should just have his ultimate up as well, but engage.
Oh, they're actually going to go for this one. Jack Troll flashed in for the play. Saken burst on down. The Ignite's there. Diplex survives somehow. No, he doesn't. Never mind. Burst to the Leandries as Hantera moves in on the play for 1-1-3. It's a 1v1 between the junglers, and Hantera turns it into a kill. Jack Troll trying to escape. Hantera, even with his red buff, won't commit.
Way too much of an overextension from Jack Troll there. Tries to go underneath the turret to set up, but there's just no follow-up.
Yeah, it just felt so overthought. It's like he committed the play and was like, well, I guess, he wanted to stun someone. It's like, oh, I might as well just go for the victor. And then Vitality.Bee are like, well, I guess we have to commit to this, but they're taking tower hits here. Diplex gets completely chunked out and then goes down. And then we see the roam up from Hantera. It's later, but he's still got all his cooldowns to turn this into their favor.
God, the shield at the last possible split second there. Okay. I can't believe 1-1-3 actually survived that play. That's sort of insane.
Again, though, we're seeing this like tip for tap, which does favor Karmine Corp, though. We talk about trying to prioritize early dragons. Well, Vitality.Bee don't really have the control that they want, especially when Saken does have that mythic already completed. You have to be incredibly careful, but a ton of ultimates were burnt by both sides in the last fight, so you have to be careful here.
Critically, top laners won't be joining. Kamashar TP top with a hull breaker. So again, there was like, yeah, I have to be top or our tower is gone. And that does mean that see Vitality.Bee just backing away, don't have control of the river and aren't able to approach.
I'm surprised KC aren't actually just going to start the Drake on this one. This would be pretty much the first early Drake they've got. In fact, this would be the second Drake of the entire series for K-Corp.
I do like that they're not going for it, though, because I think at the moment, right, as Karmine Corp, hey, realistically, we don't need to force this. We have the later scaling, so as long as we just play it slow, deny that from Vitality.Bee, we're in a good spot. Now that we have Vitality.Bee back away and we have our lanes in order, now we can go for the dragon.
Yeah, and I think it's massive, slowing down the potential soul. Obviously, 2 for Vitality.Bee so far in this series. Giving them a third would be really rough. And honestly, an Ocean Soul, when you have super tanks like in this game, could cause a lot of problems if either side was going to get it.
So she's kind of going back up towards that top side. We're setting up for a gank in the mid lane, though. Jack Troll off on the side as Skeens goes in onto Saken, but he's feared, he's escaping. In goes Jack Troll. The damage is turned around, though. 2 towers hitting, and it's a 1-for-1 so far, but 1-1-3 wants to turn that into more. Hantera trying to cut off Jack Troll. Diplex up on the top side. Cabo, in the meantime, is in the middle of nowhere. There's a Cataclysm from 1-1-3, and K-Corp are finally getting ahead in a game.
I saw assist things coming out and Kamashar is just going behind the tower, just not interested at all in what is going on in the rest of the map.
That was incredible. Just like, me smash tower, me no hit player. It's just like, I'm going for this. Screw everything else that's on the map.
He's in his lane. He's flourishing.
He's moisturized,
Oh God, let's take another look at the play, because it felt like Saken was doomed, but then the rest of the team falling to the towers.
I mean, Hantera has been so good in these scenarios, like consistently being there to counteract the dive, and with the quickness just disrupting so much of these dive possibilities, Vitality.Bee don't have that quick damage where you're not getting the healing and the shielding as well, just keeping their key members alive that little bit too long.
And I think you can honestly just play the game like this, just constantly shutting down the aggression of Vitality.Bee will be enough for K-Corp. And right now, you can see how much damage is being done to that tower. It is just going to continue on with Kamashar eventually chipping away your side lanes.
And it feels like we're finally getting to see Karmine Corp in this series. Like, we talk about the tools they had in game number 2, we don't get to see anything from them. Now, though, Hantera is doing a really good job of linking up with 1-1-3, keeping Saken alive, keeping Karmine Corp's hopes alive in this best-of-5 series. And this is the Karmine Corp that I thought we'd get to see all series long, where they can match this early aggression, where they can find these moments to thrive, and we'll have to see if they can keep it going for the rest of this game.
Yeah, they do end up giving over that bot tier 1, but committing to the top side. They get the first blood tower for Kamashar, and they secure that second Herald as well. So really positive overall. You can see pinging in towards the mid lane. That tower already low because of the first Herald. They can just slam it down, take it down, and have such a massive advantage on control on the map.
And it's kind of crazy to think about the amount of bans that went towards this mid lane this game, and how well Saken has been playing on this Victor, consistently having pressure, having a 20 CS lead. And Diplex seems to be the one that struggled off the back of all of that draft pressure on the mid lane.
Well, that's the thing. Seiken has always been known for his really strong control mage plays. So the fact you're kind of getting the threats off the cards is actually only benefiting Seiken in a lot of moments because he's able to fall back to things like the Victor. Now, it does obviously hurt your mid jungle, but you can see that with Hantera coming in and overextensions from Vitality.Bee, they've been able to shore up that difference, and now you're starting to see Seiken flourish.
Oh, Skeens tries to steal the Gromp, but Reckless will grab it, drops a little happy Bee as well. And we'll walk away, denying a bit of a cross map as he knew 113 was up on the top side.
Look at the amount of warriors that are littered in this bot side jungle now, though. You have a ton of control for Vitality.Bee, and when you've got a minute and a half until the next dragon, that feels like it should set up well for them. But I think realistically, as Karmine Corp, you don't really need to contest this. You can just play elsewhere.
Yeah, they can play elsewhere, but I feel like Vitality.Bee, if they want Soul to be a win condition, they kind of have to get this one. Otherwise, you know, if they give it over and they need 15 extra minutes to threaten a Soul themselves, it's just way too late in the game. So they're putting a lot of effort in trying to find this, and critically also, if they set up the vision, it allows Diplex to flourish. You can fire an ultimate from the Fog of War. It's going to be so much more potent.
It would be. I'm a little nervous for the side of Vitality.Bee if they do commit to these Drakes, because if Shigenda moves over, Kabashard doesn't, he could just push. But it looks like it's Kabashard the one to move first here as he turns up in the mid lane trying to find priority. And KC, they want to contest this Drake. They want to just fight for it.
Diplex did back though, complete his Ludens. Now he's also got that stopwatch as well, so he's going to be in a really good spot if he wants to try and set things up for the fight, get on to key carries in the back lines. Like, Diplex can actually do work in this fight despite the fact he's been set behind that little bit.
Herald's still available as well for 113 if they want to force priority in either the bot or the mid lane. 20 seconds on this Drake. Kabashard is here, as is Shigenda. Shigenda losing a quarter of his HP already before the fight begins. Jack Troll in. Here's the Ornhorn as well. So knock up onto a couple. But KC just disengaged for the time being.
So much beard there, right? That's 4 ultimates down for Vitality.Bee for none from K-Corp. They use a Jarvan flash and that's it. You can see Vitality.Bee instantly feel like they're not comfortable to continue over here. A bit of a disaster.
Yeah, not the target that you wanted to try and jump on. 113 has flash, has the flag and drag, and he gets the healing off the flower in the river. So now you end up with that second dragon for Karmine Corp, and it's exactly like you said, Ox. Now you're waiting 15 minutes until you can actually look at a soul as a win, and that's not where Vitality.Bee need to be right now.
Look at the goal difference in the mid lane in particular.
Wow.
You know, our concern was the Victor could weaken the mid jungle 2v2, but it hasn't come to fruition, and now Seiken is just going to ramp up as this game goes on. I feel like Vitality.Bee are just going to need to find backline access to ever have a hope, but it gets harder and harder. You see the Rift Tile getting thrown down to assist Kabashard as well. He is a menace so far this game.
Doesn't have his myth completed, but he's going to do work as soon as he does as well. Jack Troll just going to sit here with Shigenda to try and clear this one out, but does leave Reckless
Shelly
free in top side.
Poor Shelly, just getting battered down in the bottom side. Won't be able to get the charge off, as did get a bit of support from Jack Troll to defend that tower. It's a 1,500 gold lead for KC right now as we broach the, or get towards the 20-minute mark. And it's feeling real good for KC, this kind of slow, methodical gameplay.
Yeah, Seiken has Rabadons. That is pretty scary.
Jeez.
I mean, he's 220 CS at 19 minutes. Like, we were talking about other players being good at farming it. That's like insane farm in that mid lane. Seiken, as you're saying, 2 massive expensive items.
But again, it feels like it's Karmine Corp, right? We talked about being able to power through strong lanes. Seiken, one of those. Kabashard, another one. And you're getting Reckless now as well with that big CS lead in the bot side. It feels like Karmine Corp are starting to come online in this game 3. And when you look at like these best of 5s, momentum can be huge. And if Karmine Corp have kind of rallied themselves in game 3, we'll have to see if they keep this going, as looking to see if they can push on towards Jack Troll. But Diplex is waiting on the side.
Oh my lord. Yeah, so that's one of the things that's actually being nerfed is Hullbreaker increases your damage to towers. They're changing it to only be attacks because it affects demolish, which is why you see it do so much to a tower. It's a little bit bonkers.
Yeah, just a little bit. Kabashard able to pressure so much at the bottom side. And that's only going to get worse. It's not like Shigenda is going to become a great side laner later into the game. Like, he's built for teamfights. He's built to be part of a 5v5.
It does feel like, though, if Seiken is on point, he can kind of shut down a lot of what Vitality.Bee wants to do. Because if you've got this zone control that's coming through from Seiken with the gravity field, with Anteri, you're able to play around chokes properly, there is the opportunity to kind of bypass a lot of Vitality.Bee, where you're using that zone control to deal with the divers and Diplex, deal with the diver and Skeens, and keep other people at bay. Kind of draw out the composition from Vitality.Bee to deal with them piece by piece, rather than having to deal with them all at once, especially when Cabochard can just play frontline and add to more of that zone control.
I just don't see, when it gets late enough, how they ever kill Cabochard.
Yeah.
He's going to be so incredibly bulky. Obviously, getting that free HP that you can stack up from his passive when he kills minions. You don't have tank killers on your team.
Skeen's going real aggressive on this one, as Shigenda is actually just forging an item in the meantime. But it will just be a back away from KC once more. And guys, I have to ask, where did Vitality.Bee go? I feel like this entire series, they've been so aggressive, they've been so on point, they've been forcing plays across the map, and then this game, it doesn't feel like we're hearing a peep out of them.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of looked at this and went, look, you had the tools for Skeens to try and make something happen. Jeskla Jack Troll, good idea to play around bot side, you can play around Diplex, but Hantera has been phenomenal in trying to shut down these plays, roaming mid, tracking Skeens. It feels like it's actually been Karmine Corp who have been the ones countering everything Vitality.Bee have done.
I feel like this kind of feels like the end of game one, where Vitality.Bee had thrown, and then it let K-Corp be in this position where we're like, okay, feels really hard right now, they scale really well, but it is about finding access to that. But I think if Seiken or Reckless are out of position, which is a sort of scenario we found when Reckless was chasing down Jack Troll at the end of that game one, that's where you all just pounce him, you blow him up, and then that's where the team fighting falls apart. Because when you look at the composition of K-Corp, it really is Seiken and Reckless who are doing all the damage. If one of them dies, it's going to be very hard to follow through the rest of the fight.
Especially Seiken, right? Because it feels like with the Rabadons now working up, it might be a Banshee's Veil coming through next, but just feels like he's... Or Zonya's even.
His build before we were in Banshee's Zonya's, I wouldn't even be too against that in this game. Do you think he needs a voice staff at some point, but surviving will be key.
Yeah, and I think it'd be great to go for these defensive items, and if that is the case, and you do have that Zonya's, it makes, you know, the Diplex threat that little bit easier. Hantera, though, will be able to dash away with 20 seconds till the Dragon. We're keeping our eyes on Diplex to see if he can find that flank.
It's time for things to begin here. K-Corp grouping as 5. They want to take Soul Point. They want to set themselves up with that Dragon Soul win condition for the first time this series. Finally in control, and 113 starts fight onto Skeens, and Solar Flare from Jack Troll. The Horn is there. Is there any damage from Vitality.Bee? The rest of K-Corp moving forward. 113 survives, and now onto the tank, but Cabochard is practically invincible. Shigenda has to back away, and it's just a jungler for nothing. KC, yes, low health bars, but still in control.
Yeah, those feathers critical, though, from Jessica really chunked Reckless out. I think before that point, Vitality.Bee were looking a little bit doomed on it, but K-Corp still confident enough. I mean, Cabochard is so incredibly tanky, and they never found the backline access.
Yeah, Diplex ended up wrapping around to play front to back, so he wasn't really that threat. So you could kind of see him here at the start of this fight, like looking, waiting for all the CC to come down on Reckless and to burn that flash, but he ends up wrapping through, which means that even though Reckless takes a whole heap of damage here, you actually don't have Diplex in a position to follow up onto the flashless carry in the back line. 113 ends up being able to take down Skeens alongside Seiken, and for that point forward, like as you said, Cabochard just tanking all this damage, which makes it nigh on impossible for Vitality.Bee to right the ship.
And I'm honestly going to say Ocean Soul, I said it before, with a tank Jarvan, well, you know, he's going to bruise a build, but still, this super tank Sion, and even the fact that Zeri becomes very bulky for an AD carry, they're already struggling for damage, they will be immortal.
And the thing is, we talked about how, you know, the side of Vitality.Bee aren't that great at killing tanks already. Well, on the other side, KC are great at killing tanks. It doesn't feel like Shigenda is tanky enough at all. Seiken, more than happy to deal damage to him. Reckless too. 113 gets found out here. There's a Solar Flare. Jack Troll gets his whole combo, but nobody's anywhere near. And now Jack Troll's gone too deep. Instead, Hantera trying to save the play. Diplex in onto 113, but the Jarvan lives on, and Seiken arrives. Hantera with the double knockup, and Reckless starts to stack up as well. The slow's coming on through as Shigenda just trying to body block. Great feathers from Jeskla. It will just be the one pick, but still, KC come out on top.
And I feel like the problem is I'm looking at this play and being like, okay, Vitality.Bee, they got off lucky not to lose as many members, but they just feel like they're licking their wounds, limping away. Once again, they're committing on a 113. not the target. If you're not going for Seiken or Reckless, you shouldn't go for it.
Yeah, and even there, Diplex, right, doesn't have the damage to try and finish off the Jarvan. No Shadow Flame, super far behind his build when you look in comparison to Seiken. So when you actually get this dive into 113, I mean, look, he's gone Bruiser. You might have some threat, but like without getting the reset for the ultimate for the Vex, this fight is going to go completely astray. And it does feel like Jack Troll overextending again, cause a bunch of issues. No damage, as you can see, into 113 to actually finish him off. And now Diplex is just stuck in no man's land.
It honestly feels a bit desperate. Like, we see someone, we have to try and make a play, and I can understand the mentality, but it's just not working, especially when K-Corp are so quick to respond and bring numbers in return. One thing I will say is they did burn Cabochard's TP, which is something critical, so less of a threat in the side lane now.
God, damage onto Diplex. He's just getting destroyed by Seiken. Maybe Jack Troll and Shigenda can stop it, but I mean, who's going to kill him?
I mean, you just talked about the TPs being used. Shigenda now investing his to get up to his top side. And, I mean, that's just kind of thrown away for nothing. Again, no real pick opportunity because the Banshees Veil and Karmine Corp, they've now put themselves in this top side, settling the vision control in favor of themselves at this Baron.
1-3 backing away on a blast cone as well. Cabochard has actually been playing with the team more than I expected when I saw the build. I thought maybe he'd just be off on the side, but he has been playing that main tank role. Oh, no. Oh, he slides away anyway. Good little channel from 113. Buffers the flag and drag. Unhorn from Shigenda, but again, he's just not tanky enough. Has to flash away. And now Hantera finds the engage, but the feathers cut through him. Schemes on the front line, tanking. 113 dashes back out of the play. Vitality with one, but Reckless is stacked. Finds a return kill.
It was great reactions from Diplex at the get-go to prevent the engage from Hantera, but again, you've got Cabo playing frontline, so there's just no follow-up in this fight. We'll see it here. You end up getting this engage from Jack Troll completely separated. Nobody's able to follow up on that. But when we get this step forward again from Karmine Corp, watch Diplex here. As Hantera goes in, instantly pops the shield. The fear prevents the follow-up for Hantera, and then you get this root, but Diplex ends up firing his ult straight into Cabochard once again, which means they can't actually capitalize on this.
Yeah, I mean, Cabochard is doing a fantastic job of playing bodyguard and not letting anyone get close. He is so incredibly tanky. It's only getting more severe as the game goes on. We do have the Seralda's grudge from Jeskler now, so he's got some percentage pen, but it's still all physical damage, and there's a frozen heart being picked up. Diplex just factually does not do damage to Cabochard. He just does not have the items for it. Still not completed that second item. Seiken working on his 4.
Absolutely insane how far ahead Seiken is at this stage, and you're kind of starting to see it with the 2-level advantage, the damage that he's churning out. Void Staff on the way now as well to deal with Shigenda before he even gets his hands on enough magic resist. So it just feels like with this Ocean Soul now available, I don't really know how Diplex gets the flank, gets the damage when Karmine Corp are already here.
I mean, Shigenda trying to set up a death brush here, but this is not a fight that they win. Although 113 force away, Unhorn is there, the knockups, triple knockup from Shigenda, and now the rest of Vitality.Bee. Diplex off on the side, perhaps an opportunity. No smite available for K-Corp.
And that was just a great engage for Vitality.Bee, but they are still limping. But Diplex has snuck behind though. They don't know he's here.
Shigenda has to use stopwatch. Reckless might be able to finish a kill. Hantera can't find the knockup. Jack Troll, he fumbles it, and he's just blown apart. Here we go. Diplex behind enemy lines. Hantera turns golden though. Feathers come on through. Cabochard falls. Reckless trying to chase the play on out, but Vitality.Bee still with 4 players strong.
A beautiful play there from Hantera. He gets revenge on Diplex, channels the ultimate, knows that Diplex is going to fly in and then charms him as soon as he arrives. Just really good play to stall that one out.
And completely takes Diplex out of the back line. Just absolutely beautiful for Hantera. And honestly, the game-winning play there. Now Karmine Corp turn over towards the Dragon. You can already look at 113. He's nearly here. Soul for Karmine.
And you see pings are coming out on the Baron from Vitality.Bee. They know this is like, we have to do something desperate. They're not going to end up committing. They are pinging on the way, but like, you've just given Ocean Soul. Cabochard is now immortal. He's got TP. I feel like you just have to flip Baron here and now. The game's over.
They are going for the resets though, and Seiken is still showing on the bot side, so maybe you're just able to go for this Baron before they show up. You have to try and go though. Waiting for Karmine Corp to come in here is just going to make it so much more difficult.
Something's got to happen. Something's got to break for Vitality. They start the Baron 10,000 on its HP right now, but they're burning through it fairly quickly. The feathers come on in.
It's gone. 113's too far. It's just done at that HP.
All right, well, at least Vitality, they get a silver lining on this one and a bounty as well on top of that one. So big big 2,000 gold swing in their favor. Still, 2,000 gold behind and an Ocean Soul down, but at least they get something.
Yeah, and initially in this play, Karmine Corp, I think the thing is they commit into this choke, and look how most of K-Corp can't really follow up. Sacred and Reckless not really doing anything as we get this complete bounce house coming in, so we get the initial favorable play for Vitality.Bee, and then they go for this big loop around flank, and we try and find the engagement. Jack Troll's not quite here, but this Hantera play just flawless.
Yeah, Hantera was so good here. Diplex does manage to land the Shadow Surge into the back line as Jack Troll not able to connect with the Zenith Blade, but Hantera, as you said, realizes it's about to happen, charges himself into the middle, so keeps Sacred and Reckless totally fine, gets the stopwatch off, he hops away from the feathers. That was so well orchestrated by Hantera.
Absolutely gorgeous. And this is why I love watching Rakan, right? There is so much skill expression in this champion, and Hantera showing that he has that skill to express. But, gentlemen, we've got a bit of a scuffle around the Drake that's not even up. Schemes is going to be locked up. And one shot. See you later, buddy. Seiken is here, and he wants a win.
Yeah, that's a fight Invicta. That's what it does. And now K-Corp looking for more.
1-1-3 the target, but it's Diplex really alone in this one. Seiken trying to close the gap as Hantera off on the top side, but he's rooted. Great play by Despler, but his mid laner falls regardless. And that Ocean Soul paying dividends for Hantera.
And now Karmine Corp would just get to set up here on the bot side once again. This is just going disastrously for Vitality.Bee. They couldn't get the early game in their favor, and Karmine Corp are cashing in on this late game victor.
And this is a problem, right? They got the Baron. They're not really going to be able to get to do anything with it because they lost out on that fight. And all it really did was stop K-Corp from taking the Baron. It's going to extend the game, which is nice, especially since, you know, you might make a play to flip an Elder, but I still think this team with Ocean Soul, the strength of this Victor right now, it is so hard for Vitality.Bee.
And again, we're looking at Diplex, right? Like the comparison in items, he just doesn't have it there. Shadow Flame is the sole second item, whereas when you look across at Seiken, he's like working on his final item here. It's just insane the difference between the two mid laners at the moment, and it feels like all these bans focusing towards the mid lane only ended up helping Karmine Corp rather than hindering them.
Gavin shot is like, hey, by the way, I am still playing this Hullbreaker side. I can still just annihilate towers, but the key thing I think about the difference in the mid laners as well is that Seiken scales exceptionally well too, and we're seeing that on the damage on Shigenda. There's a fear onto 1-1-3. He jumps in, keeps himself alive with a Gore Drinker and a stopwatch, and Seiken shreds the health bars. Knockups galore. It's a double for Seiken, and in flies Kamashon, and out of the other side as well. It was a good attempt. I like to see it, but Kamashon now stuck in the base, has an Ocean Soul. He'll be fine. That'll be an in hit.
And that looks like it'll be us going to a game number 4 as well. Karmine Corp looking so strong in this wave. Takes the mid lane inhibitor. Now they get to collapse onto bot side as well. I mean, look how tanky Cabo is.
Where was this the rest of the series?
Oh.
It's going to be the feathers coming on. Ow! Oh, see you later, Hantera, but there's a knock-up on Jespler. And just as it looks good for a moment for Vitality, it all gets blown apart. Gentlemen, the blue wall stands strong one day further, one game further. We are going to 4 at very least.
Yeah, and ultimately they shut down Vitality.Bee's early aggression. They lean into that scale and picks, and Seiken, he was a monster this game.
Seiken MVP for this game, and alongside Hantera, it has to be said, like the two of them made this game what it was.